Coming up! In World War II, more often than not, we think of the great aces from Germany, America, and the other Power 5 nations that took part in the war. But in this video, we will take a look at an unknown ace hailing from Italy, who contributed greatly to taking down 36 enemy aircraft. In addition, he has a note on his combat record that is sure to turn many heads, as this Italian ace was actually one of the very few pilots in the Second World War that was actually credited with legitimate kills from both the Allied and Axis nations. To help make this video, I actually collaborated with Renzik, another awesome flight sim YouTuber. So if you guys notice that the visuals here are a little different and probably even better than normal, that is why. Make sure to go check out his channel after you finish watching, and thanks again to Renzik. Enjoy. Born in 1917, Teresio Vittorio Martinoli was from Novara, Italy. He joined the Regia Aeronautica in 1938 and was posted to the 384 Squadron. Now, some of you may be wondering about Italy's involvement in the war, since they are often overshadowed by the major nations. In case you are unaware, Italy joined World War II in the summer of 1940 after their dictator Benito Mussolini felt it was an opportunity to reap the spoils of victory after England and France were quickly defeated. He famously told his chief of staff before, "I only need a few thousand dead so that I can sit at the peace conference as a man who has fought." He thought that entering the war would allow Italy a prime opportunity to expand their colonies in North Africa. This plan would eventually backfire, but not before Teresio Martinoli was sent to fight in the skies against the Allies. Immediately upon being sent to fight in North Africa, Martinoli would showcase his skill. His first aerial victory came on June 13th of 1940, just 3 days after Italy entered the war. After taking down this French twin-engine plane near Tunisia, he brought down a British biplane, and then 3 Hawker Hurricanes to very quickly reach the title of ace. In nearly all of these kills, and throughout the rest of the war, he would fly in the MC-202, which was the workhorse of the Italian Air Force and a strongly underrated fighter in World War II. The following year, in 1942, he would continue his domination, not settling for the title of ace. He took down 3 Spitfires in early summer of 1942, which is no easy feat considering that the Spitfire at the time was likely the best aircraft in the sky. It had a higher top speed, devastating sharp turn radius, and powerful cannons by this time in the war. In a head-to-head, evenly matched dogfight, the MC-202 would often lose this battle. However, Martinoli was a more strategic and seasoned pilot and used this to his advantage to take down the British fighters, adding more tallies to his kill count with each passing month. In June of that year, the American P-40s would begin to arrive at the front. And like the British ones before them, he would take them down with authority. He shot down 3 more of the Warhawks in early June, bringing his total to over 15 for the conflict, making him a triple ace and the leader of the Italian forces. Just a few weeks later, Martinoli in his flight would pounce on no less than 12 P-40s flying in formation. Here he would take down another with his wingman claiming 2 more. In less than a year, the Italian pilot had begun to make a major name for himself. He was flying with outstanding abilities and besting his opponents every time they met him in the air. Unfortunately, the rest of his nation was not faring quite as well. The Allies had begun pushing inland into the Italian mainland, and Allied bombing raids on cities had begun to severely diminish public support for the war. It was around this time that Martinoli scored his final kill in North Africa when he claimed the downing of a P-39 Air Cobra in late 1942. Shortly after this victory, he and many of the other Italian pilots in his group were transferred to a new front of the war because things were looking very grim back home. The Italian commanders would need all available resources to try and keep back the advancing American and British forces. In 1943, he participated in the defense of the mainland, continuing to show that he could fly with the best. He took down both an American P-38 Lightning in July as well as a B-17 Flying Fortress. Secretly, the Italian leaders at this time had begun to negotiate peace talks with the Allies. Less than a year later, the Italians had removed Mussolini from power and had officially surrendered. In a bizarre turn of events, however, rather than simply ceasing participation in the war, Italy turned and declared war on Germany. Now the Italian fighters like Martinoli were thrown back to the front, but this time fighting against the Luftwaffe, the very pilots who they had been fighting with just a few months before. Just 1 month after the signing of the armistice, he led the air battle against the Germans. On November 1st, he found himself in an intense dogfight over the skies of Podgorica near Greece, after sighting a Ju-52 escorted by a pair of Bf-109s. This would be his first real run-in with his new German adversaries. This dogfight no doubt had a very strange feeling for the Italian ace, as he had just 3 months earlier logged his most recent kill as a British RAF Spitfire. But nonetheless, Martinoli did what he did best and outmaneuvered the German fighters, while his wingman continued with the dogfight, keeping the fighters at bay. He used this time to come up behind the transport and took it down for his first German and Axis powers kill of the war. This victory would put him in a very small class of pilots who, in the Second World War, took down fighters from both the Allied and Axis nations of the conflict. Unfortunately, this would be his last aerial victory. On the 25th of August of 1944, he was training to transition into one of the second-hand P-39s that had just been delivered to the Italian Air Force from their new friends in the United States. While flying, he would crash the aircraft and was likely killed immediately. He would end his career with 22 aerial victories and 14 shared kills in a total of 276 sorties. Because it was frowned upon in Italian culture at the time to idolize single persons in the military, many of his records and accomplishments have gone mostly unnoticed in the history books. However, he is one of the most accomplished pilots in the Second World War, and one of the greatest in Italian history. I hope you enjoyed this historical recreation. Please make sure to click subscribe and comment if you have any ideas for future videos. If you want to support my content and get awesome bonus videos, please check out the Patreon link in the description of this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.